Hey everybody, this is Allison Justice with the Cannabis Research Coalition. As I was planning for an experiment today, I thought it could be pretty cool to take you along with me for this journey. Um, it can be complicated, but with the use of a tool I'm going to give you, it can be quite easy. So my project I'm looking to do is to take my base fertilizer, and so in this case, what I have on hand is Jack's 15515. It's a complete fertilizer, meaning it does have calcium, magnesium, and the micronutrients in it. The goal is to create 3 different stock tanks with 3 different solutions. I know what types of fertilizer I want to use. Now what? Um, it takes a lot of calculation. It takes understanding chemistry and how much these elements weigh and within what compound increases weight of certain ones. So it can be quite complicated. In grad school, I had an Excel sheet that drove me crazy and was really complicated to use. But quite a few years ago, I found this program that is updated. You can enter your specific brand of fertilizer, which has a guaranteed analysis, which you can then plug into this calculator and use and magically get all of the information that's required. So first thing, Google Hydro Buddy. And here we are, first up. Now I'm going to go into the About section simply because you need to understand who developed this. This is Dr. Daniel Fernandez. I met him about a year ago, and he is very bright. If you're struggling with fertilizer, this is definitely the person you want to talk to. He knows plants and he knows fertilizer. He is a nanoscience chemist. So let's go back and look at this. This is a fertilizer calculator that is free. Now, we don't get a lot of free stuff in cannabis these days, so this is something you want to take advantage of, donate to them, because I know it took a lot of time and effort to make this happen. So pick your system and download it. Once you download, it'll look something like this. He has great directions, so make sure to read those, but I'm going to walk you through the pertinent parts to do what I'm trying to do. So this is the main page. This is where you will be doing most everything. He put suggestions here, but what I'm going to do is just zero them out. All right, so I've named this CRC research. Let's go to the substance selection. So this is where Dr. Fernandez has added in some of the most basic fertilizers. Now keep in mind what you may be using may be a little bit off than what he is basing this off of, so always check. So you see in the substance selection, there's lots, but there's no heaters. Okay, so it is here, but it's because I added it already. But I'm going to show you what to do if you wanted to add one because you're using a different composition. So add new. Right, so right, Peters, delete, just because I'll delete this later since it's already entered. Now I've pulled up the guaranteed analysis of this specific fertilizer. And so you see everything here. This is the only part you have to be careful about. Now, does your guaranteed analysis give you actual phosphorus or P2O5, K2O? So we want to make sure to change this where the calculation will be accurate. Here, K2O, 15. And so on. Okay, everything is put in. Now, pretty cool here, you can add the cost per kilogram. And so what that'll end up doing is at the end, when we see how many grams per gallon we need to put to make these formulations, it would actually give us a price too. So that's pretty cool. All right. So there's no save button, you just X out. So there's our Peters. We want to add this to our substances used for our calculations. So that means it only pulls from what this bag of fertilizer can provide. I'm going to look to see if my magnesium sulfate matches the details of the database's magnesium sulfate. So to do that, all you got to do is say edit selected, and mine matches exactly. So you can update, close out, either one's the same. I didn't change anything. Now we know these two fertilizers are ready to go. Add it to calculations. So just these two we'll be looking at. No save, X out. Great. Now, I am going to shoot for 150 parts per million nitrate because that is where I want my nitrogen to be cross treatments. All right, let's look at some of these other buttons. So, this is an important one, especially if you're in a place that has really bad water, really high sulfates, or other elements, chlorine. But for my experiment, I'm not going to add anything. I've got a little bit of elevated calcium, but nothing that we even treat for. Right? There's a couple other things you can play with. For this example, I'm just going to ignore them. We're going to look at how to mix 1 gallon. I want it in ppms, in grams. You can change your EC model. Degrees of freedom is optional. And then, like I said before, this can be an A and B tank, where you would be breaking it up into 2 tanks, or it can be within 1. And so I'm going to do the direct addition. All right, so we're ready to carry out calculation. I messed up. I did not add the extra magnesium I want. So it did calculate the elements from the nitrate I added, but because I didn't intentionally increase magnesium, it's only going to give me the magnesium that comes along with the Peters fertilizer. So at standard concentrations at 150, we would be getting 25 parts per million magnesium. All right, well, like I said, in this experiment, one of my stock tanks will have elevated magnesium. So let's change this to 75. All right, so we're only filling out 2 cells. The rest will auto-calculate. Carry out. All right, got the smiley face. Then we go to results. Okay, this is where it gets pretty cool. Here are my 2 fertilizers I wanted to mix in order to elevate magnesium. And so this right here is how much you would put grams-wise per fertilizer into that gallon of water. And then had we put costs, that would come out here. All right, so here we've got the EC. And so this is the projected EC of what we asked for as far as nitrogen and magnesium goes. And here's the full breakdown of all of the elements according to this concentration. So we've got our 75 magnesium, 150, and so on. Now I've put my information on another file where I can compare it after we're done analyzing all 3. Another cool thing to kind of look at while we're here is you can change the EC value. So say you want to keep this ratio, but you want to increase the EC. Here you go. Very, very handy. Other buttons that have some neat things to look at: nutrient ratios. You can have it exported into an Excel file. Lots to do here. But I'm going to go on back to the main page because now we're going to look at, now we're going to go back to the main page. I'm going to zero out my targets. Now we're going to select potassium sulfate. Already edited this one to be the brand I'm using. So we're good to go. I want to be 150. And here I'm going to take it to, let's say 350. Okay, everything else stays the same. Okay, here it is. Here's our calculation. We're at 350, 150. Everything else should be the same, back down to 25. And there we have it. Very easy process, very easy program to use to create a very sophisticated experiment. Here you can see the 3 different tanks and what the resulting ppms per element will come out to. You see everything stays the same except for the changes we intentionally made. Then you can go over here, and for our Peters, this will basically be the control. We'll get 4.7 grams per liter. In order to elevate magnesium, we'll add 1.9 grams per liter of the magnesium, and then here we'll add 1.2 grams per liter of the potassium. And so that'll make our 3 different stock tanks. We can apply these to the plants, and we can see what these elements added look like. I'll give details later about what that experiment is going to be for, what it looks like. I thought this could be a neat time to walk you through the program and show you how you can play with different fertilizers you might have on hand, or maybe you just want to understand a little bit better about what is in the current fertilizers you're using.